Hey guys, how's it going? So this video is starting off a little bit different just because I wanted to show a little bit of my favorite game, known as Gotcha Force. So this is for the GameCube. This is running on 480i on the tube we're going to be talking about here in just a little bit. And it is one of my favorite games. Now, for those who know, this is an extremely expensive game, unfortunately, as time has gone by. And I somehow now own 2 copies of it, and I played into that expensiveness. But I like this game way too much not to own it, so yeah. However, I do recommend people playing it, so if you get a copy of this game, play it to your heart's content or emulate it. I mean, I don't blame you for not wanting to spend over $400 on this game. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into talking about the Panasonic CT-20D11E. Alright, how's it going, guys? So my name is P017 or PO17. I make a lot of these CRT TV and video monitor videos for you guys for 2 reasons. 1 is to document these things, and 2 is to spread awareness about how nice these TVs can be, especially for one that has been thoroughly worn in. And trust me, when I say thoroughly, I really mean it. But let's go ahead and get into it. So this is a 20-inch Panasonic with composite and S-Video. It is a curved tube, and it has an all-black construction. It looks really nice. It has 1 composite in the front, 1 in the back, as well as 1 S-Video in the back. And the composite and S-Video in the back are tied together, so if you have an S-Video cord plugged in, it won't play composite, so you have to unplug it. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the frontal features. So, the one thing this will not come with is this little stain right here. This is actually from candle wax specifically, getting onto this and burning a hole through it a little bit. It's a little melted, but that's okay. Yours might not come with that. But yours definitely will come with this, and probably not that either, funny enough. So this is stereo audio, of course. This is your power button, as much as it doesn't say power anymore. This is volume down and up, channel down and up, and action, or basically brings up your menu, as well as your TV/video input, so you can change between TV and your inputs. And that is your little IR, a headphone jack, and of course your composite input. Now, it doesn't really look like it too much, but Panasonic, especially for their all-black construction, like to use the same color of inputs, so you might end up plugging your audio input into your video signal. That's okay. Panasonic did that, and it confuses a lot of people. But with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the side. So this is how the side looks like. Pretty bare bones, pretty minimal. It does have a funny looking stuck out shape, almost kind of like a leafy chin, if anybody knows what that means. The little bulb right here, this is where your anode cap would sit under. But let's go ahead and take a look at the back. So as mentioned, this is a Panasonic CT-20D11E, manufactured in September of 2001, so this is a pretty old set. But we'll go ahead and move down here. So this is where your S-Video input is, as well as your composite with audio, and your audio out. So S-Video and composite, they both share an audio port, so you have to either have a splitter or, of course, plug one or the other in at one given time. But with that being said, that is pretty much all there is to it in terms of the overall look on the outside of it. There's not much else to go over, but we will go ahead and go over the remote control as well as the menu on this thing. So this is the OEM remote for this set, and it works on quite a few other sets. I actually have owned this specific remote before in the past when it came to my friend's TV. But to get into the menu, you press action right here. There we go. Oops. That went a little too far. But this is what it brings up your menu as. So you get picture, audio, timer, channels, lock, and setup. Now, of course, the only ones we're really worried about is picture and audio. You will actually worry about timer, especially if you're going into the service menu, but for now, take a look at picture. So this is your video adjustments. You get your standard color, tint, brightness, picture, sharpness, and normal, with your picture being your contrast as well. Your normal setting basically just resets everything back to factory or default, so 50% all the way down through there. So it's just a really quick way to do that. Audio settings here, it's literally just speakers on or off. That's pretty much it. But over here, what I mean by timer, we'll get into it here in a little bit. Everything else pretty much doesn't matter. I mean, setup, that's just how you change your language, and everything else you don't really need to know too much about. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the remote and its features. I guess it technically has a pretty cool little VCR feature because you can change it as well as DVD up here. So for those that have Panasonic combo sets, this will work on that, especially if it's around the same year. Also, it has a cool little light. But with that being said, let's go ahead and move over to the service menu portion of it. And for that, I will be going to 240p Test Suite. So let's go ahead and move over there now. Alright, now we're in business with 240p Test Suite on my Super Nintendo through S-Video, of course. And we're going to go ahead and quickly talk about the service menu, and then I'll go ahead and get into the overall picture quality and kind of the things that I've had to do with this particular set to get it from where it was originally when I first got it, which was in really terrible shape, to being in really good shape. Even though it still has a couple problems, it's okay. All CRTs do it in some sort of way. They have their own quirks. But let's go ahead and get into it. So in terms of the service menu, what you want to do to get into it, you're going to want to go ahead and head over to your timer right here. You turn the sleep for 30 minutes. That's how you want to set it. And then you just exit out there. Now what you want to do is make sure your your volume is all the way down to the bottom. Now before you do anything more, what you might want to do too is record a little video or picture, or take a picture or something of every single one of your things here. And why do I say that? Because whenever you go ahead and enter your service menu, you are going to reset that whole thing, especially when you want to get out of it. But anyways, with that in mind, let's go ahead and go to channel 124. Now, one thing I did forget to mention here, and I don't exactly remember how to get there in general. I believe it's actually automatic on this set. On my other Panasonic, to get into it, I had to actually switch from TV to cable in terms of the channels, which is a little weird. But this one just did it right out of the gate where I could turn to channel 124, which is automatic cable. This is the channel you want to be set on when you go to have all those steps done. So the sleep timer, the channel at 124, volume down to 0, and what you want to do is you want to press the volume down button on the TV. That will bring up your service menu check screen, and now you can go ahead and head back over to your video input signal. In my case, it's 240p Test Suite, and then you want to hit the power button. When you do that, you're in. So there is a whole bunch of different blocks here, and I'll actually go through them. So there's the B, C, M, S, P, X, and that's it for this particular set. Now, newer Panasonics, they will have it way easier to and better organized than this. However, the older ones have it laid out like this. So each letter here just represents what block it's in. So this is in the B block. This is for colors, sharpness, tint, etc. Just a couple different areas there. Your C block is your deflection block. So this is where you're going to be adjusting your horizontal position, your vertical size and position, as well as a couple of other things. I believe there is your chroma delay and your luma delay. Funny enough, there's two of them in the C block. And there's a couple other ones here that I don't exactly remember off the top of my head. Usually the M block you don't need to worry about. The P and the X block you also don't need to worry about. I believe the S block I did something in, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But there are service manuals for this that you definitely will have to look up, because there is just a whole crap load of information about these sets involving how to get through it and exactly what to do. So one thing I do want to show you, of course, is this. So you cycle using up and down for your channel up and down, and to adjust you use volume up and down as well. Now something you might notice here, this will tell you what part it's in. So B00, I can't exactly remember. I believe that's actually color, but that's the section and that's the adjustment. Something you might notice here is this is actually, funny enough, I believe in hexadecimal. So for certain blocks, like right here, it'll say 1F. That is your hexadecimal. That basically just means, I believe, 16, and that's 17 right there. So it's not 20, it's 20. Because every single thing goes from 0 all the way to F, so it's 0 through 9, then A through F. But that's basically just not to get confused with everything there. The only thing I don't know is what the heck this is. I'll be honest with you. But everything else, this is the adjustment number, so this is probably going to range between 0 to like 300 or so. Some of these range from 0 to 3, so, you know, it's all sorts. So like I said, you got to look in the service manual for this one because it is friggin' annoying. Now, one thing to get out of the service menu, and typically what I like to do, just as a making sure everything's good, reset it back to this, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to press the power and action buttons right here to reset it, and you're going to want to press them at the same time, hold them. What will happen is it'll go through a little check, and then it'll blast a bunch of volume at you, so you want to cover your ears. And I'm not going to go ahead and show it to you on this because it's very, very loud, but I'm going to go ahead and get out of the service menu and move on to talking about picture quality. Alright, with that out of the way, by the way, I just went ahead and skipped over. So it plays a bunch of white noise at a stupidly loud volume. So let's go ahead and turn that back down, go back to video. And now let's go ahead and talk about picture quality. Alright, so for picture quality, this is 240p still. We're going to be taking a look at Donna, the almighty goddess of 240p test suite. Thank you, Artemio. But looking at this, you can definitely tell that this image is extremely well done in terms of its looks. It's very sharp. It looks beautiful. Scan wide's not super duper prominent until you go around here. Any of the brighter areas, of course, like any TV, it may wash out, especially if it's an older one. But around here, it just looks absolutely beautiful in terms of its looks. I'll go ahead and move over to the grid pattern now. Alright, and we'll go ahead and take a look at just how nice it looks up close here. So, something you might notice, it is slightly misconverged in some areas, but I have done a really good job at converging it compared to what it once was. But overall, just taking a look at it, super duper sharp, like I said. It is an absolute beast of a tube for what it was looking like when I first got it. I mean, this thing looked completely worn out, completely trashed. It was blurry, it was messy. The contrast and brightness were just pumped all the way to maximum, causing a ton of blooming, and it just looked terrible. But with a whole bunch of adjustments, namely G2 voltage, that was the huge one that did this one in terms of it looking so much sharper. Now it looks gorgeous. And I really do mean that. It looks awesome. But with that being said, 240p picture quality, I highly recommend it for this set. It looks absolutely wonderful. It's a slot mask tube, but it is still just gorgeous for this thing. In terms of the geometry, by the way, as you can see, it looks pretty good. There is a little bit of a dipped corner there. That bottom right corner over there is actually a little pulled out, but you can't really notice it, so it doesn't really look that bad. But overall, everything looks great. Also want to mention as well, I mean, every single CRT TV, because it's all analog, they're going to have their own little quirks and stuff. But overall, it just looks fantastic for what it can do. So overall, do I recommend this thing? Oh, definitely. Now, let's go ahead and go into two things that I want to talk about just briefly. So there are technically still two small problems with this set. The first one is signal interference, and the second one involves a little bit of ghosting. This tube has that. I've done a lot of testing, and I've even pulled out the board to try and figure out what the heck is going on, but I just can't seem to figure out what the heck is going on. But we're going to go ahead and take a look here. So like I said, this is the Panasonic CT-20D11E. And there are other models of this, especially on the service manual that it shows. There's a whole range of them. So if you have one of those models, just like the CT-20D11E or something of the sort in the service manual, let me know if you have this issue. So you can see the signal interference there, as well as on blue especially, and on white. It's not really noticeable in person, however, it is still a small issue that I want to bring up. For this type of set. So if anybody else knows if they've had this issue before, because I want to make sure it's not just this TV specifically, I want to see if it's on the range of TVs, if they have this common issue, or if it's just a one-off sort of thing. The other one, we're going to go to sharpness here to take a look, is going to be in relation to slight ghosting. So like I said, this has it. You might not be able to see it on camera, but I can. You can actually see the outlines of these dark lines shifted a little to the right across the entire image, like right around there, and so on and so forth. Like I said, it's really not noticeable in person, unless you're in a specific scenario. And that's how it actually came to my attention, is I actually met that specific scenario, which was a very dark looking character and a dark outline on a very solid background. But I wanted to know if it's a one-off or if you guys have ever experienced it, if you have the same tube or if you have a very similar one, and so on and so forth. But that is all there is to it, really. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about if I recommend this or not. Alright, so we're back to Gotcha Force again, just for the outro. In terms of usability, everything like that, I'd say this is really, really good to have. If you do find one of these and it is in desperate need of calibration, I would say try to do your best to make this thing look nice, even if you only have access to the service menu, because you can turn a very worn and ugly and blurred out picture into something that looks absolutely beautiful. In terms of the adjustments, like I mentioned, I did G2 voltage, or screen voltage, a focus adjustment, convergence adjustment, yoke adjustment, your service menu adjustments, all around. I basically did everything that I needed to do with this thing. I even pulled out the board, tried to diagnose those two little issues, couldn't really figure it out, but that's okay because the picture still looks absolutely wonderful. So for a 20-inch set, this is absolutely amazing. Panasonic really, really rocks in terms of what it can do. So I highly recommend it in terms of, yeah, just getting it. If it's in great condition, don't pass up on it. Especially the fact that it has S-Video. It might not have component or anything like that, but S-Video will basically do yourself just fine, especially with a lot of game consoles. And most of mine can run S-Video, so that's why I really enjoy it. But without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If it helped you out in terms of getting into the service menu or just overall helping you out with picking out your next CRT TV, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more. I'm going to try to post some more videos more consistently now, just because I've gotten more CRTs in, and I also want to do more game stuff like show off Gotcha Force, for example. But yeah, so this is something really cool to show, and I'm very proud of it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.